It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. Yo, what is up, everybody? I need to change my camera angles. It's weird because I'm looking at the screen and I'm looking down. I wish there was a camera that could be hidden in my screen. That would be awesome. Pretty epic. I come up with some random ideas that I need to patent and make something out of. But also, my friends, I'm constantly talking with my friends. We have a big group chat. And I will come up with the most random ideas. And I'm like, guys, I just thought of the greatest idea. And then the good friends that they're always like, hey, bro, that already exists. Damn it. That sucks. I got this file in my phone because I don't know. I'm sure there's some mental disorder or something that I have. But I sometimes just, boom, you just wake up and you're like, I got the greatest idea. So then I have put it in this file in my phone. And then you review it in the morning. You're like, yeah, that's a stupid idea. That's how that works. Hello to everybody. How you guys doing this evening, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are? It is 5 p.m. here in Southern California, 4:58 p.m. to be exact. I started this a little bit early. Go figure, huh? Right on. Ike has been a channel member for 34 months. That is really cool, Ike. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that support. And Ike says, don't forget to join the Discord server. So if you guys are on YouTube, believe you can only see the link on YouTube. There's a link to the Discord server that Ike has made. It's a group of people. It's a cool little discussion group. They have HVAC talk, non-HVAC talk. It's really cool. So check it out if you're interested, if you're into the Discord thing. Let me see what we got going on here. Got a couple things as usual. What the heck is that? Oh, stupid insurance stuff. Couple things I want to cover as usual. Not a very big list today, so I'm going to rely on the chat a little bit. Got some questions, I'm sure, from you guys and talk about a few things, and we'll go from there. So I hope you guys had a good week. Monday, of course, and Mondays are always Mondays, but Actually wasn't a bad one today. Just did some ice machine work and had a nuisance problem on a Manitowoc ice machine, which I really think is still going to show its face. But if you've ever worked on the Manitowoc ice machines, it's a problem where the curtain switch just randomly turns off, and the curtain switch works off of it grounds itself out, and it is constantly just randomly turning the curtain off, making the ice machine think that it's full of ice when it's not. So it was an interesting. I was able to catch it on camera, but it was interesting because I really don't know how I solved the problem. I think it was a loose wire because I corrected some wires and then I couldn't get it to duplicate itself again. So we will see. Ice machine problems are always fun like that. Let's see. There we go. Derek Lindsay says, I need a clear desk with monitors angled below like the news desks have. Yeah, that would be really good if I had those multi-million-dollar budgets and I wasn't stacking multiple monitors on top of an IKEA desk that's just totally overloaded and bowing. And yeah, exactly. Coming apart. Fun stuff, right? So let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Hello to everybody. Mike B says there is no place for pineapple on pizza. And then Jason Johnson says, Hawaiian style, brah. Exactly. Is that what I'm looking? Hawaiian style right here? I have hair. Oh my gosh, Chris has hair. Pineapple does belong on pizza. And guess what? I had pineapple on a hamburger yesterday too. Whoa, sacrilege, right? Oh my goodness gracious. I am that totally crazy California dude here. Yeah, but for real, we went to Islands yesterday, which is like a burger chain. They're all right. It's kind of somewhere that we like to go as a family. And I got a Hawaiian burger. Came with pineapple on it. So let's see what we got going on in the chat. HVAC XORZ. In reference to my compressor cut open video, in situations like that, do I ever install a resettable high pressure switch or at least a delay on brake control? So that's a good question. Every once in a while, I will put a manual reset high pressure switch in. But kind of like I mentioned in the video, if you guys haven't seen it already, yesterday's video was a compressor teardown that I did. Two of my technicians had to change, I think it's like a 2 horsepower or 3 horsepower Copeland scroll compressor on a beer walk-in. And I wasn't there, but I had them bring me back the compressor to the shop because it wasn't under warranty anymore. And I was able to cut it open and kind of analyze what I think happened. And it actually had an open winding because one of the wires burnt off at the overload on the stator, and it basically just opened a leg. And so my hypothesis with it was that my technicians, after they changed the compressor, they turned the rack back on and they noticed that one of the condenser fan motors wasn't working. So my hypothesis was that the compressor was turning on and off on high pressure, and it went off on thermal overload, and there was just like a weak spot in the solder joint or something, and it opened the windings. Like it overheated because it melted the point that it was connected to, and it, there was a drop of molten metal there that had cooled. So the question that he's asking is, have I ever thought about putting in a manual reset pressure control? And yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, a manual reset pressure control is the best kind of a pressure control that you can put on a system, right? If you think about it, because a high pressure control is there to protect the compressor. Okay. That's the sole purpose of a high pressure control, to protect the compressor, to make sure that it doesn't go outside of its operating envelopes. So that way it doesn't just implode on itself. So in a perfect world, if you ever get to a high pressure cutout situation where the head pressure in the system gets so high that it trips the high pressure control, yeah, it's best if it's a manual reset so you can correct the problem. But here's the issue. I am in Southern California, in the desert region of Southern California, and it's very, very hot. Normal summers, every once in a while, we'll get up to 115 degrees, but the average temperatures are about 110 degrees. It's very common that on 404A systems, which this particular system was a 404A system, it's very common for 404A systems to hit about 400 to 415 PSI on the head pressure. But the downside is that is outside of the operating envelope for the compressor. It's right there. The reason why, in my opinion, that the head pressure gets that high and why they run outside the operating envelope is because the equipment wasn't quite designed correctly. Oftentimes, refrigeration manufacturers that make condensing units, refrigeration racks, and different things like that, they will take a cookie cutter approach to everything. So the particular refrigeration rack that compressor was in can go anywhere within the United States because it saves them money to make a rack that can be shipped anywhere, right? But with that being said, it's not designed for the extremely high ambient temperatures at which we get. And so if we put a manual reset high pressure control on there, one of the downsides to it is that we're going to have a lot, I'm talking a lot of service calls where we go out and literally just have to push a pressure control because during the heat of the day, it just got so hot that it shut off. So in that situation, what we actually do is we put auto reset pressure controls on there. Now, it's not ideal because technically I'm operating outside the operating envelope of the compressor. We're reducing the life every time we do that, but it's a give and take. Like, what do you do here in this situation? Now, of course, I bring to the restaurants and the customers' attention that, hey, let's put some sort of devices, let's put a pre-cooler on this rack, different things like that. But oftentimes the customer doesn't want to spend that extra money, and they'd rather take the chance of a compressor failure every couple years than spend X number of dollars and, solve the problem. It's so weird sometimes working with these big corporations, the way that they do things. So yes, I have thought about putting pressure controls on there. I'm interested because I know there is digital pressure controls that use pressure transducers, and I'm curious about the accuracy of some of those. But if you do have a digital pressure control, the cool thing, I would imagine a digital pressure control in my head would have a logic circuit that it would lock itself out after so many retries. So that would be perfect if I had a digital pressure control. And I think Johnson Controls, Penn Company, I think they might make a pressure control that is digital. I know that they have a digital system. It's like a modular system, 400 something series controls. And I'm wondering if it has logic to where you can set it up to like lock out after so many retries. So I give it like 2 or 3 resets and then it locks itself out. Like I would like that, but the constant after one event, boom, it locks out on high pressure, and then you got to go and reset it. My gosh, the service calls would be through the roof. So curious what the chat has to say about that. Let's see what we got going on in here. HVAC XORZ says, makes total sense, but what about a delay on brake control that's set for 3 to 4 minutes? Yeah, that definitely would be a good idea. I will say that a delay on brake, it would work. We would have to find one that can handle 208 volts because my control circuit for that particular compressor is 208 volts. So yeah, it definitely would work. I would want some sort of at a minimum, I think they do make delay on brakes that have lockouts. I think they have logic built in. But anyways, yeah, if you guys hear me randomly talking about any of this stuff and you guys have feedback and I don't see it in the chat, feel free to send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm just here. You guys are listening to the ramblings of my brain at this moment. So hello, Jennifer. Jennifer from the Misfits of HVAC is in the chat right now. I just signed up to be on the Misfits podcast. It's not going to be for a little while, but I am going to be coming on there in the next couple months. So I will be on the show. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Austin has been invaded by people from San Francisco. San Francisco has been invaded by people from all over the world. So all over the country, because everybody likes to think that, hey, California is this place that you can go and live. And, I'm not even going to get into the politics of it all, but we have a big influx of people coming from other parts of the United States. I shouldn't have said around the world, from other parts of the United States that want to come live in California because we have some crazy rules that let them basically get away with almost anything. So yeah, San Francisco is in a world of hurt right now because a lot of store retailers and different things are pulling out of Frisco. I think they just said that Nordstrom's is closing a bunch of stores. I believe Walgreens, did they pull out of San Francisco completely? A lot of different places. So it's a crazy place. All right. Reading through the chat, seeing what I'm missing. Pressure transducers are common and accurate. Just verify with a gauge. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I knew that they're accurate, Steve. I guess I'm more concerned with the reliability because a digital pressure control is a little bit scary. I guess as long as the digital pressure control, basically, if something was to happen to the control, as long as it opened the circuit, I wouldn't want the whole system to shut down. I wouldn't want something weird to happen to where if something happened to the control, the circuit stayed closed all the time. You know what I mean? That would be a problem. You would want the system to open completely. So JCIP 266 is a good one, but expensive. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. I'll definitely have to look into that. Let's see what it has. Chris's hair is looking voluptuous. It's just hat hair, really, is what it is. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Exactly. Steve J says, stay out of California because everything gives you cancer there. That is true. All right. Let me see what else we got going on in the chat. Okay, cool. So Calcy was someone in the chat at the very beginning of the stream, asked an interesting question. And I need some context from his question, but he had asked if he could use, he has an existing R22 compressor, and he wanted to know if he could use 404A refrigerant in that compressor with a 404A TXV. So that is a loaded question there, bud, because it just depends on the compressor. You need to, if it's a Copeland compressor, you're in luck because Copeland has a great app that has lots of really easy to find information. The Copeland mobile app, if you search up the compressor, it'll give you all the specs on it. But let's kind of unpack this a little bit. So for a system to work with 404A, the most important thing is that obviously the system is designed for 404A, right? Condenser, receiver capacity, different things like that. You need to understand that they have each refrigerant has different specific gravity. And so you need to be careful. Just because you have an R22 system does not mean that it has enough storage capacity in the receiver. It doesn't mean that the pressure controls are set correctly. And for the most, I mean, and, you know, even it, you know, it doesn't mean that the compressor is designed for 404A either. Okay. But one of the really important things about 404A is that it has to work with polyester oil. R22 can work with mineral oil, PVE oil, and polyester oil. Okay. So if it's an older R22 compressor and it has mineral oil in it, then no, you cannot use it with 404A. But it's really cool because, again, download that Copeland mobile app, look it up, look up the compressor information if it is a Copeland, and you could do research to find that out. Okay. There is multi-refrigerant compressors. A lot of the new compressors are made for multi-refrigerants now. They're rated for them, and they actually have delivered BTU capacities for all the different refrigerants. So that's something to think about. Also understand that because of the differences in the refrigerants, you're going to have capacity loss and capacity gain depending on which refrigerant you go with. Okay. So again, because each refrigerant has different characteristics, when it's pumped inside the compressor, it's going to react differently. Okay. So you could gain BTUs or you could lose BTUs. Okay. Again, reach out to the compressor manufacturer. They will let you know. If it has polyester oil, if it's a newer compressor, more than likely it is capable of working with 404A. Okay. But just understand, if you look into the compressor manufacturer's information, they'll have the specs for the different refrigerants at the different condensing and evaporator temperatures. And that's what you need to look at to see if your particular compressor can work with 404. Okay. And your evaporator capacity is going to be different too. Now, an evaporator is an evaporator, but you have an expansion valve in there that's R22. And behind that expansion valve, you're going to have some sort of a nozzle. Okay. And the distribution tubes coming out of the expansion valve, those oftentimes are sized for different refrigerants, and the nozzle inside in front of the TXV is sized for different refrigerants. So you very well might have to change the nozzle or distributor. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's not just as cookie cutter as some people think, like, oh, just put this in there and call it a day. Okay. You need to make sure that it is capable of operating properly with those particular, or that particular refrigerant. All right. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Reading through here right now. Anyone else have issues with the Copeland mobile app where it just goes to a white screen? Joey, no, I have not heard that nor experienced that myself. As of yet, the last time I used the Copeland mobile app was probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So I'm very interested to know if anybody else is having that problem. Usually the Copeland mobile app's pretty darn good. Mike B says you may as well go with 448A. Very good point, Mike, because here in California, 404A is already actually on the chopping block, and it is partially outlawed, as in technically, if you do, major system replacements, retrofits, you're supposed to change from 404A to another refrigerant. 448A is actually one of the more commonly used refrigerants in medium and low temperature that we're using these days. And the very interesting thing about 448A is that it actually it has very, very similar characteristics to R22. good and bad from that, okay? Because your compressors tend to run a higher discharge temperature, which can lead to some overheat issues of the compressor. So it's very important to research, even with 448A, that you're going to be within the capacity. You're going to have some capacity gains and capacity losses with 448A, but it uses the same expansion valve as R22. It does not necessarily always use the same nozzle, though, okay? So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking into that stuff. Looks like CM, thank you very much for that super chat. That is so awesome. I really do appreciate that, bud. How do you deal with a burnt refrigerant oil on a used system when changing a compressor? He had a horrible time changing one on a Bryant Evolution heat pump. Okay, so it really depends on the severity of the refrigerant burn. Okay, so let's get into this. What happens when you have acid in a system and what creates acid? One of the ways that acid can be created within a refrigeration system is with moisture in the system. Moisture, high heat, the refrigerant oil, it's just all a great little melting pot, and you tend to change that moisture into an acid, and then your problem even gets worse, okay? Because once you have an acid in the system, it starts running its way through the system. It doesn't immediately, for the most part, usually kill the system. If it's like a moisture-based acid, it's usually going to start causing some problems. Acids can be very corrosive, okay? And what can happen is if you have an acid built into or in the oil of your refrigerant, and it's flowing through the system, it starts eating away at the insulation coating on the compressor windings on the stator, okay? And once it eats away at that insulation, it can cause a direct short to ground. Another thing that it can do is it can start to eat away and scrub the walls of the copper pipe. And that's one of the reasons why we have copper plating in compressors, is usually because there's moisture in the system causing acid, and the copper starts moving. And as it's moving through the system, it starts to collect in the really high temperature points of the compressor, and it starts to plate itself, okay? So when it comes to acid in the system, if you have a burnout, whatever caused the burnout, we don't know yet, what's the cleanup procedures, okay? Personally, this is my take on a cleanup procedure for acid, okay? I am not the expert in the matter. Certainly, other people that are watching right now have different ways of doing acid cleanups, okay? And so be it if yours is different than mine. It's okay. I don't understand why people get so upset with each other over the silliest things. But I personally, in an acid cleanup type situation, best case scenario, we're going to go ahead and change out the compressor. So we recover all the refrigerant out of the system. We're going to change the liquid line filter dryer. And we're more than likely going to add a suction line filter dryer. And depending on the brand manufacturer, I happen to use Sporlan products. So we are going to use an HH core on the liquid line filter dryer and the suction line filter dryer. Now he's dealing with a Bryant Evolution system. So here's something we need to think about. I'm answering this as a general question for refrigeration best practices, but a Bryant Evolution system is an inverter-based system. It's a Carrier infinity system, okay? And you need to lean on Carrier to get their acid cleanup procedures, okay? Because they are particular about the way that their systems are supposed to operate and the way the refrigerant moves through the system. So you definitely need to look for some service bulletins from Carrier or Bryant to kind of see what their methods are. But in general, we are going to add liquid line filter dryers with an HH core, okay? And suction line filter dryers with an HH core. And what we're going to do is change the compressor, and depending on the severity, we are going to operate it. Obviously, we're going to pull it down to a vacuum. We're going to follow all proper practices. We're going to start the system back up, put virgin new refrigerant in the system, and we are going to let it operate for a short period of time, usually a day or two. And then we are going to come back and do an acid test depending on the severity. Once we do the acid test, more than likely, if it indicates acid, we're going to probably start tackling some more acid cleanup. We might actually have to, depending on the type of the system, change the oil in the compressor. Now, on a Bryant Evolution system, it's going to be hard to change the oil because it's a hermetically sealed scroll, or, well, depending on the tonnage, it's a hermetically sealed scroll compressor, or it could be a, why am I having a brain fart on the type of compressors, that a rotary compressor in some of the Bryant Evolution systems, I think. But anyways, filter dryers are a must. Now with the Sporlan, HH cores. Now, I used to call them for the longest time, up until recently, I actually realized they're not a high acid core. Okay. I always thought that HH meant high acid. It doesn't. The HH core has a finer screen in it that helps to clean up the wax particles within the system. Okay. The HH core does better at removing the wax particles from the system. Where did the wax particles come from? When there's acid in the system, again, I said it starts to eat away at the insulation on the compressor stator windings. Okay. And those windings are covered in a wax coating. That wax coating starts getting eaten away. So therefore, we use the HH core. Now, the standard Sporlan filter dryer, to the best of my understanding, has acid capability, acid removal capabilities in it. So the non-HH core will remove acid, but the HH core itself does a better job of removing the wax particles. Okay. So we're going to do multiple oil tests. So we come out, if we find acid in there, we're going to attempt to do an oil change if possible and change the dryers again, liquid and suction. Now, second time, I don't think that I'm going to be changing the refrigerant. We're just going to make sure that as we're removing the refrigerant and as we're charging the refrigerant into the system, the used refrigerant, we're going to be running that through HH core recovery dryers. Okay. So that way we're cleaning that refrigerant to make sure there's no wax particles built up in the oil as it was being recovered. Okay. So very important. And then we're going to repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse. So we just keep going back until you see the acid reduced. Okay. So that's going to be my methods of removing acid in a system, to make a long story short. Okay. Let's see what else we got. What did I miss here? Biflow suction filter dryer. Yeah, definitely. If it's, I think the Evolution, I don't know. Are all Evolution systems heat pumps? I don't know that they are. So I'm not super familiar with the Carrier line, but I think the Evolution system can have a standard straight cool too. So, yeah, if it's a heat pump, we're definitely going to use a Biflow filter dryer if it requires it. So let's see what else. Let me see what else we got going on in here. What am I missing? You're waiting to get a burnout so you can make a training on the damage. Yeah, it's always good. It's always good. Let's see what else we got. What am I missing in here? Miguel Gonzalez says he had a question. He worked on an Aeon package unit and the compressor sounds horrible, but was told that's normal. Do you have insight on this? You know, it's not going to be an Aeon problem. Again, I don't know what your horrible is. I mean, did the compressor, was it just unloading? You know, I mean, because different people may not know what the different sounds are. Okay. So you can have Aeon systems that have all kinds of different stuff built into them. So it really depends on what the sound is. Is it just like, it sounds like it has rocks in it? I mean, that's not normal to me. You know, it just depends. Okay. And the severity. So I don't know who you were asking and they said it was normal. That's a good question. Let's see what else. Okay, so CM says no, not all Evolutions are heat pumps. So there we go. So yeah, I've recently been getting acquainted, like the briefest acquaintance with more Carrier products lately, and so I kind of have just been learning a little bit more about different Carrier products. So how's the home HVAC going? Home HVAC is going decent. Just kind of still in the planning processes. I did choose my equipment. I bought my equipment. I haven't revealed what equipment I bought yet, but it will be coming. We are currently, my friend Adam Muffich from the HVAC Overtime Show, A-Team Adam, he is helping to design the duct design for me. He's helping me with that, and he also helped me with the load calculation on my house. And I do have to say that we are going kind of aggressive, as in our sizing of the system. I am putting in, I bet you anything that I am going to have one of the smallest systems in my neighborhood. Okay. Because I don't think many people or many companies are going to take the aggressive stance that Adam and I are taking on my house project. So we are trying to downsize my equipment absolutely as much as possible. So it'll be interesting. So stay tuned. We're kind of working in it. So let me see what else we got going on in the chat. Those big scrolls unloading can be loud. Yep. So Steve from Everything HVACR does do some of that industrial work. I don't know if you work on Aeons on a regular, Steve, but You know, the important thing to understand is Aeon is just, they have multiple levels of their equipment. So sometimes they have just really basic package units, and sometimes they have spaceship units that can do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? Deep Space Nine stuff. Okay. So, you know, it just depends on the particular setup of the equipment and what it is. If you guys have questions, if you guys have things that you want to show me, shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com. If you have interesting stuff going on your job and you're curious about it, I can't promise that I'm always going to answer the emails. I got to be honest. I can't promise that I'm even going to get to half of the emails, because I do get a lot, and unfortunately I just can't respond to them all. Okay. But every once in a while I get the opportunity. So if you guys have something, shoot me an email and I'll take a look at it and try to help you out that way too. Let me see what else we got. Multi-stack chiller. Lots of great stuff in there. You guys are funny with all your guesses of what you think I'm putting in my house. I got to say too, that the type of equipment that I chose for my house, I have, you know, thought about multiple brands, and I did deep dives into multiple brands, probably spent more time. And, you know, inevitably the decision that I made, the final decision that I made on my equipment, was not because I think that this brand is the perfect brand. I didn't think it's going to be absolutely perfect. I know that it's going to have problems. Of course, I'm a little bit more comfortable. I don't think it's the worst equipment out there, right? I don't think there is a best though, because everything's going to have problems. But I'm looking forward to it, because the cool thing is, unlike a homeowner, right, or a non-HVAC person, like, you know, if my equipment breaks, it's an inconvenience. But number one, I can fix it myself, and number two, I get content, right? So at first I was like trying to pick the best brand, and then I was like, you know what? No, like, let's pick something you're comfortable with, you know. And I just had a bunch of different criteria. And honestly, you know, Adam said something the other day when we were talking, and, you know, Adam and I had been talking about all kinds of different brands of equipment. And this one wasn't even in the running. And then just like at the last minute, I was like, all right, bro, I just ordered this equipment from this distributor, and it was ridiculously expensive. Dumb how much it was. But what SEER am I expecting? The equipment that I got is capable of 24 SEER. I think is capable. Whether or not that's actually going to be achieved, I don't know. But it is capable of 24 SEER. And it is spoiler alert, I have said this already, it is a fully communicating inverter system. So it's Brian, I did have this idea that I was going to install Mr. Cool units at my house. That was in the very beginning. That was something that I thought about. I was like, man, what if I just installed Mr. Cool units, like following the installation manuals, like with the pre-made line sets, and then like left the loops out. Oh, that would have been made for like the most epic troll video, right? Like all this design and all this work, and then comes to the install video and it's Mr. Cool units. That would have been hilarious, but I didn't want to go that aggressive. All right, let's see what else we got in here. Let's see. What's your reading through here? What am I missing? Is it okay to ask my hourly rate? My hourly rate is $110 an hour. So for some customers, it changes for a few different ones, but let's see what else we got going on in here. Would love to get out here to Indiana to work on an engine room. Oh, that would be fun. I wouldn't even know what to do. Wouldn't even know what to do, but I would like to get my eyes and be able to walk around some industrial equipment sometime. That would be kind of fun to be able to. I don't even know what the liability and all that crap would be, but I'd love to get out and check out like some ammonia plants and different things and learn a little bit. I'm intrigued to learn, but it's never somewhere I'm going to take my business. I'd also like to get exposed a little bit more and be able to get my eyes on some of the new supermarket systems and some CO2 systems. You know, the interesting thing is with YouTube and all these different things, we can all make this content, right? And we can share the stuff. So, you know, I'm able to see some supermarket stuff. And I have a really, really awesome friend and an amazing commercial refrigeration technician, Brett Wetzel. And Brett works on the supermarket stuff, and he happens to be a training manager for one of the biggest supermarket refrigeration companies in the country. And so, I'm able to see the training and learn from him. But it's we're all fortunate in these days because we have this social media and we can all see other people's stuff and we can share knowledge that way. So I'm really excited about where the industry is right now as far as training and stuff. The unfortunate thing we have in the industry right now is just the lack of people that are interested in getting into, HVAC. And, we need to work on that a little bit more. But all right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat. Reading through here. Oh, you guys have the funniest equipment guesses. Okay, so I'm curious who's in the chat right now. What equipment do you think I went with? So I want to see the chat vote. I'm going to give it a couple minutes and watch those come through. So what equipment do you think that I picked for my home HVAC system? I'm curious what the chat has to say here. CM, how many techs do I have? 4 technicians, including myself. So 3 actual other technicians. And then I have 2 office staff. Okay, so lots and lots of guesses in here. Wow, okay. So some people are saying Bosch. Some people are saying Lennox. Some people are saying Carrier, Mr. Cool, Carrier, Train, Bosch. Lots of great guesses. Daikin Fit, Train. Wow. Okay. So yeah, lots of great. Oh, some people say Goodman, Gree, Box Brand, Ream. Wow. Y'all got some things. So should I tell you guys what I picked? I mean, is it really that big of a deal? Or should I keep it a secret? I'm going to wait for the chat to answer that one. Okay. See what else we got going on in here. Let's see. So Sunday's video was a teardown video. And obviously, if you guys haven't, it's on the channel, just a compressor teardown. I'm going to try to start doing that stuff more often. Now, I do have to say something. I've always beat to the tune of my own drum. And I know that my channel, has grown and gotten to a point that I never expected it to. And, there's a small portion of people that watch my videos that are not HVAC technicians. And that's fine. It's cool because, maybe some of them might be converted. There's some homeowners that watch this. But I'm going to start doing, different style of videos, not just for popularity. I want to start doing more compressor teardowns. Those aren't the most popular videos. They don't get the most views, but I get more satisfaction out of doing that. And, to be honest with you, I need to make sure and keep this channel on a level that it's not just, insanely boring for me. Right. So I'm going to start doing some more of the educational style content. Of course, I'm still going to do service call videos, but I want to definitely kind of start doing a little bit of different stuff on the channel too. So you'll see some more to that stuff. Okay. So you can never tell. Keep my secrets. What refrigerant is in it? I'm not going to say that. Did I use Ted's account? No, I did. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that one. Okay. Because I do have friends that are very into certain brands. So for sure. All right. Let's see. And I do appreciate everybody's support out there too. Okay. So I do want to address the elephant in the room. We had a horrible incident over the weekend, horrible thing in Colorado where, we don't know what happened yet completely. We all have our suspicions, and honestly, a good majority of what people's suspicions, I believe, are to be the truth. Okay. But you had a indoor swimming pool in a large resort in Colorado, and the ductwork for the pool room area collapsed when people were in the pool, and some people were critically injured. Now, it's just horrible. A lot, that's a scary situation. This is where we really need to start using common sense in the industry. And I do have to say this, we need to stop. Something that concerns me is we are so desperate right now. We're kind of desperate hiring, and don't do that. Don't hire out of desperation. Okay. You can let go of customers when you're desperate, but don't don't just hire employees for no reason, okay? Or because they don't have the qualities that you'd expect them to. We don't know what happened in Colorado for sure, but lots of things could happen. Personally, I think it had to do with some sort of corrosion, but again, that's just a guess. It's a wild ass guess, okay? Because of the chemicals and different things, but we need to make sure that the people that are working in the trades, yes, we're knuckle busters. Yes, we go up and hang duct work or run piping or, change compressors. We might do certain tasks, but there is danger that's involved in what we do. So we need to make sure that just because we're installing something and we read on some plans that it says to use a certain product, if we don't think that product's going to work, it's our duty as technicians and company owners to speak up and say, hey, you're going to run into a problem in this situation. So we need to start making sure that we are being thorough, right? We don't want to just hire anybody off the street. We want to make sure that, they have the skills to be able to look at things and look at the big picture and, make sure, again, we don't know what happened in Colorado, but I would just imagine that it had something to do with corrosion for hangers and stuff. So yeah. See what else we got going on in the chat. Exactly. So it's kind of a lot of people are saying that they had to think it had to do with some sort of corrosion too. So yeah, exactly. All right. So I have a question for you guys. I've talked about this recently. A lot of you have made the suggestions. I've currently been looking into laser alignment systems when it comes to pulley alignment and power transmission stuff, but I'm not going to go spend $2,000. Okay. So I want something, relatively cheap. I prefer under $1,000 if I can. And I know that limits to the type of stuff that I can buy, but I'm looking for laser alignment. But here's the problem. I know some people say that they just use a laser pointer and they just set it between the pulley and just let it sit. I'm intrigued by all the different designs, but I was looking at a laser alignment system today that was interesting to me. And because it had 3 what looked to be 1/4-inch key stock pieces that had little alignment markers on them, and it shot out a laser that shot on all 3 of them. You would place them right here, and it would tell you if pulleys are aligned left to right and different things too. But the downside to the ones that mount on the outside, and this is a big problem that I have with some of these magnetic laser alignment tools that mount on the outside of a sheave or a pulley, is that it is very common in the equipment that I'm working on to have 2 different brands of pulleys on a, some sort of power transmission system, right? Whether it be air handler, whatever. I've seen 2 different types of pulleys. Okay. When you have magnetic laser alignment things that mount to the surface of here, they're lining up the surface of the pulleys. They're not necessarily lining up the center point where the belt's going to ride. So if you have 2 different types of pulleys, then one can be thicker, one can be thinner. That's going to throw your alignment off. So I'm kind of having a hard time with the ones that I was looking at today that mount right here. I want something in the middle, but I'm curious if you guys have any suggestions. Is it possible for me to find something that's decent quality for under $1,000? Because I can't go and put all these tools in my guy's truck and it'd be super expensive, See what else? Reading through here. Jason says, we haven't used laser alignment. You can go old school with dial indicators as well, used to use a sheet to calculate your offsets and soft foot. Okay, very interesting. What else we got? Just a thought. You can see the point. Reading through the chat right now. You won't find one for under $1,000. Okay. Is the ones that I'm seeing for like $2,500, are those decent, or do we need to go even higher than that? Straight edge runs into the same problem. I use a straight edge every once in a while. I use the micrometer every once in a while. And I'm just, again, I do fine in the equipment. Honestly, probably doesn't need laser alignment that I work on. It's not really worth that much, in tools, but it's still kind of fun. And I want to learn a little bit more and make some videos with it. So is there requirements for outside air in pool and chlorine areas? Oh, yes, Gabe. There's all kinds of requirements for being in pool areas and chemical monitors, alarms, different things like that. There's a lot of rules. Now, I'm from California, though, so we have a lot of regulations and rules here. I don't know exactly how strict they are in Colorado about that stuff. Reading through here, 2,500, you can get a pretty decent one. Ours is 7K. Whew, man, that's expensive. I can't justify a 7K thing, but Ryan did I see Ryan in here? Oh, no, I don't think I saw Ryan. Oh, yeah, there she is. Ryan Hughes. I believe, Ryan, are you not? I think you're going to be on the HVAC Overtime show this Friday. Are you not? I think Bill said he talked to you about that. If he didn't, I'm asking you, will you be on the Overtime show on Friday? Yeah, we were talking about that ductwork for a minute there, Ryan. Let's see. Reading through here. Depends on the municipality here in West Virginia. Okay, Brian. Yeah, so it really does depend. All right. You know, the saga continues with the Measure Quick stuff. You know, everybody's still really pretty butthurt about the screenshot stuff. And, you know, I'm still on the side of it doesn't really bother me that they charge for screenshots, but there's quite a bit of social media that's a bit frustrated about the new charge on Measure Quick for social media. I mean, for screenshots. That's, you know, a lot of people are upset about that. So let me see what else. What else we got going on? All right, cool. Yeah, Ryan says yeah. So Ryan is going to be on the Overtime show this Friday evening, 6:05 p.m. Pacific time. The HVAC Overtime show on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. Be there, be square, right? Education questions. Ooh, I do want to kind of talk to you guys about that. So I want to ask real quick in the chat. I want to get your opinion. I'm going to give you mine. Education and HVAC. Are you into the idea of students going to proper schools, or are you more of an on-the-job training kind of a person? Okay. My opinions on the matter is I learned a lot on the job, but I needed fundamentals, okay, from school. Electrical theory, refrigeration theory, because when I came into the trade, the company that I went into working for my father, he didn't have the ability to explain and train me, okay? I went to school, I learned there, but I still needed the fundamentals from school. Okay. So I believe that students should have, or people coming into the trade need a basic education. Okay. But I'm starting to question whether or not that basic education can simply be an online training course. Okay. Because the ability to really learn a little bit more during work, during the day, and then taking schooling at nighttime, I'm really liking that idea. And I'm curious in the chat, what do you think about online schooling for fundamentals? Something you could do at nighttime. Let me see. Reading through here, look out. They are bringing in someone from outside. Exactly. On the job training for sure. Reading through here, both proper school, need both education, both on the job training. Got to understand, be able to put the real world applications. Reading through there. Okay, cool. Lots of great things you guys are saying here. What else? Nick saying he went to school. Don't do it. Go to school. There's a plenty of resources to learn the fundamentals, books, videos, questions. You cannot online. It has to be hands-on. Well, but Nick, what I'm thinking, again, I'm not saying just a full online education. I'm saying if a student, I mean, if an apprentice comes to work for me and they don't have HVAC training, what we have done in the past is we start them out as an apprentice and we send them to school. So they go to school at nighttime and then, you know, do this. So there, but if that school was online, because in the past we sent them to a school, if we sent them to an online school, so they work with us during the day and then they get the book work at nighttime, and then it's an on-the-job training. It's kind of the best of both worlds. So I'm really starting to think that the online thing can be a good way to do that. CM, thank you very much for that super chat, man. He says the best scenario would be a helper before or while taking classes. And that's the idea. If you take the classes before, you don't have a frame of reference. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying too. But I'm saying, could that training now be online? I mean, I really think it's possible. And I think it's something that would work. I would have done pretty good with that online training, but go to work during the day. Like, I think that's a great thing. Jennifer says that's how she got here. Yeah. School is a great HVAC start to get the basics down. You're not a fan of the training that apprentices are getting in the union classes. Okay. That's a bummer, Ryan. And Ryan is union too. So, online and on the job. I like that idea. Let's see. Nick says that may work. Why not do an online training myself and then have a training board for them to do practicals? Yeah, I get that. But I mean, it's not that I can't. I think the school is going to get the fundamentals more proper. I can explain and teach the fundamentals for the most part, but I just don't have the time to. That's my thing, because I'm still working full time every day. I'm not, devoting all my time to the apprentice. So, he's working alongside me and learning. So it's hard for me to break that down and give him the full explanation of everything every single time. All right. That's a good point. Cyborg Sheep depends on the person, because not everyone can do online schooling. I personally can't do online schooling if I lose interest. I did like some online classes before the pandemic, and they were whatever, you did it all yourself. You just had to have it done in a certain amount of time. And I had a hard time because I lost interest in the subject. So it has to be something I'm interested in for sure. Okay, so interesting to get your guys' opinions on all of that. Okay, so I do have another question. Again, I'm going to, frustrate the industry right now. And I mean absolutely no offense to anybody out there or any organization out there, okay? I'm not knocking you guys. I'm not knocking the organizations, and everybody will understand what I'm talking about here in a second. But I have a question for the chat, and I'm curious what you all have to say. Do you think, and I'll give my opinion, do you think that the industry education side is focusing way too much and creating a bigger deal with the A2L refrigerants than they're actually going to be? And I don't mean to irritate or frustrate anybody out there. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I think that we're overhyping the A2L refrigerant thing right now. Okay. I feel like we're making it a bigger deal than it really is. A2L refrigerants are refrigerants. Okay. Any refrigerant that we work with has danger with it. Okay. If you work with water, okay, at certain temperatures, it can be dangerous. Okay. There's always going to be dangers in what we do. And while I believe that we need to let people know that there's new refrigerants coming out and that they're going to be A2Ls and that they're mildly flammable and all this, that's fine. Okay. But I feel like we're just oversaturating it, making it a bigger deal than it is right now. And I work with A3 refrigerants, flammable hydrocarbons, R290. I work with that weekly, I once you learn the skills, it doesn't need to be drilled in my head every day that something's going to blow up. Like, I mean, we have to be able to kind of do our own thing and learn, right? And I'm not saying people need to learn by making a mistake with an A2L, but I'm just saying, like, we need to slow it down just a little bit, in my opinion, with the A2L, fear mongering we got going on right now. But working with A3s like R290 is no big deal. For me, R290 is no big deal, just some basic safety practices. So Nick Sr. says it's always been that way with anything environmental. Yeah. Interesting. Jason's saying that his guess is they're trying to drum it in because people and companies will not train their guys. It's like VRF. It's here and getting bigger. Do you want to be on the late train? You don't. Fair point. And again, I'm not arguing. I was just stating my opinion. Fair point. That is a very good point, dude. So, and I understand your point. So, you take a R290 service class, guy talks how it explodes the whole time. That's true, Mike B. But with R290, okay, so let's say it like this. With R290, we took a training class, right? There wasn't a bunch of, the whole social media wasn't blowing up saying everything's going to explode. It was just like, yeah, there was some safety stuff told when R290 came out, but it just, to me, again, and no offense, but it just feels like the A2L stuff is just being harped so much. And I don't think it's as big of a deal as, that's, again, my opinion. It's just annoying for him because he can't leave stubs on R290 units. Zach Cody, I leave stubs on the R290 units now. That's my company policy. We don't take them off anymore. So it's not a law, at least not where I'm at. So we don't take off refrigeration stubs. I've told all my employees that. Yeah, see, and here's the thing. There is some dangers involved with working with A3s, but you just got to be careful about it. But on the simple stance of the slightest bit of danger, I've decided that once we put a service stub on a R290 system, we are not taking it off. Because the normal way to take it off is to pinch it, pull it off, weld it shut with refrigerant on the other side of the pinch device. And it works, but we don't do that anymore. We leave the stubs on R290 stuff all the time. JJ Services, or thank you very much for that super chat, man. I really do appreciate it. Much appreciated. You didn't have to do that, but I'm very, very thankful. So, Brian says it's like everything else. New changes always scare people. Agree. Boilers don't blow up. Furnaces don't. RTUs don't. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, Jennifer. Reading through here. What we got. Friendly neighborhood maintenance guy says he thinks it's because it's affecting residential. And there's a fair point, not saying there isn't really amazing residential techs, but just like in commercial, there's technicians that aren't the greatest, some on residential side, right? And there is some in commercial side too. But I don't know. I don't know if I buy that argument though, because I don't know. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Okay. So, I appreciate the support. I do have to say it again too. So I do appreciate the support from all of you in the means of commenting on the videos, interacting with them. I really, really do appreciate it. I don't get to answer them all, but I try to read as many of them as I can. And I really do got to say thank you to everybody out there. So, cool. Well, it's time for me to wrap this up. It is. Close it up a little bit early, but I'm going to go out, sit down, have some dinner, and hang out with the family. Again, I really do appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And also be sure to check us out on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel this Friday evening at 6:05 p.m. Pacific time for the HVAC Overtime show. Okay. Again, I really do appreciate you. I'm going to cue up the outro music, and we will definitely catch you on the next one. So just kind of curious why you might still be here. There's quite a few of you still sitting in here. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. Huh. Let's see what we got going on in the chat here. Yeah, that's me. I'm here. I'm wondering why you're still here. The show's over. It's over. So y'all need to go. And definitely catch you on the next one.